What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another setup tutorial. Today we're going to be featuring the front stiffness of the bike. In addition to the preload setup guide I did about 2 days ago, so this will be the second video of that series. So I'm going to be discussing the relation between front stiffness and also the front preload and the effect you have while trying to find a setup that suits your riding style. If you're interested in seeing that video, check out the pop-up button here. If you're new to the channel, guys, do subscribe to my channel. It really helps a small YouTube channel like me to grow. I do this kind of video very often, so I'm a very passionate racing guy, and I try to do my best in explaining how to get better in two-wheel racing, especially if you're coming from like four-wheel racing game or new to two-wheel racing game. Alright, let's dive into this. So what is spring hardness? So spring hardness allows the wheel to react to the road, but they also determine the ride height and how the bike responds to changes, load impacted by acceleration, braking, and also turning. Alright, so basically preload is to maintain the compression travel within the suspension at the front end of the bike, and spring hardness is to maintain how hard the spring is at the front and the rear end of the bike. Alright, so I'm going to be using one of the Japanese tracks to do this test. So it's an opportunity to test the agility of the bike and to ensure the video doesn't get too long, because the lap time is around 1 minute. Alright, on setup side, I put everything to value 0. Transmission is just a random transmission I used, and also the calibration value 0. The tire soft, and now we are on the first lap with the setup. And I don't know if you are able to notice, but you can see that I struggle here to get the bike to turning, and there is a lot of movement in the bike. It's not as tidy as it should be. I went wide a little bit, get on the gas, coming up for the second bend, and actually, so surprisingly enough, the rear is a bit planted. I wasn't expecting that. So for the reason why there is a lot of movement is because of the spring hardness is very soft. So when you brake, the bike try to pitch in, and there's just much more movement at the rear and also at the front. So the friction is a bit more, and the front end can't really bite on the tarmac very well in order to generate grip. Talking about grip, you've got a mechanical grip and also the tire grip. The mechanical grip is from the bike itself, how the suspension geometry is set, and how the chassis is set to utilize the grip generated from the both rear and also the front tire. And notice that the front tire is getting very hot. Alright, so I went back to the pit and I'm using the same setup. The only thing I'll change is the preload setting and the spring hardness front and rear, just to give you a idea of making changes one at a time. Then you will see the effect of it. And already, if you can notice, you see I'm much able to get the bike to turning very well, clip the apex at the outside, and also the movement in the bike is much lesser because the rear is just more planted and there is less movement at the rear, and also at the front the bike isn't pitching forward or rearward too much on the braking or maybe on a lean angle. And here as well, I managed to get a better corner speed out, and at the second sector already I'm like 6.5 tenths up. And and this is, the setup is not really the ultimate setup. It's just to show you guys that when you try to understand what those components are doing and what kind of effect they have, then you can really maximize your potential to improve and get better. Check out the tire graph. You will notice that the tire is not as hot as the previous lap, and it's just a bit much more manageable on this lap, and the lap time improved. So I went back to the pit again, set the front shock absorber and the rear shock absorber to the default setting, and slightly tune the rear preload and the rear stiffness in order to get a bit more stability and less bouncing rear end. And now straight away I felt a difference, and I hope you can notice as well. You see the rear is just a bit more playful but not too nervous, and I managed to carry a better corner speed through that bend on this lap, and the result as well, I went like half a tenth quicker straight away, and coming out of the corner here and getting to the tight apex to go to the right, and I managed to get that one much more tidier because the rear isn't moving too much and also not too stiff, and I have a better traction out. Unfortunately I went wide a little bit here, but as you can see on the second sector as well, I managed to go quicker as well. So and the front tire is not as hot as the 2 previous laps. It's just a bit yellowish, and I wasn't on the limit all the time, and as a result of that I managed to better the overall lap time as well again. Alright, so to conclude this video, guys, preload is actually there in a simple term to get you a better lean angle into the corner and gives you a kind of idea how the compression is traveling within the suspension setup, and the hardness of the suspension is to stiffen up the front end. Let's say you're coming from like 300 kph km/h and you are braking for a bend, and if you set the stiffness to a softer setting, when you hit the brake, the front will pitch in and the rear will kind of try to move a little bit upward because the front suspension is soft. The advantage of that is you can ride the curves a bit much aggressive, and when you hit a bump on maybe on a tight angle or on a bend, it doesn't really destabilize the bike way too much. It just kind of give you a bit of a slide. But at the moment that you're using a much more stiffer hardness on the front end, when you brake from like 300 kph, the front doesn't pitch in too much. You get a better feel where the front end is, because there is less load movement on the front end, so it's just a little bit more stable, and you get a feel for what the front end is trying to communicate back to you much better. The downside to that is that you can't use the curb way too aggressive, and also the rear can be a bit more skittish and a bit less stable, and get a bit nervous when you accelerate hard out of the tight bend, depending on level of the traction control you're using and how you are able to apply gas coming out of the bend. The way you're able to maintain your corner speed on entry and also on exit is very essential as well. And at the end of the day, guys, it's just getting out there and just try to practice and making adjustment one by one, and don't do the adjustment in one go and kind of want to change everything at one go. So alright guys, so this will wrap it up for this video. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and also comment down below. I will see you on the next video. Stay safe out there, guys. Peace.